Hey everybody, we need to talk about Lucerys Velaryon. So, spoilers for Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, Fire and Blood, House of the Dragon. Just, if you haven't watched it yet, go watch it and then come watch these videos. I'm not going to hold back here, okay? There's a theory going around that after the dragon battle at the end of season 1 of House of the Dragon, where Vhagar and Aemond, Vhagar's rider, attack Arrax, who is much smaller, and Lucerys, who is Rhaenyra's son. Okay? As if that's not confusing enough, there's a theory going around that younger Lucerys survived that attack. The dragon was torn apart, but apparently there is a frame that people are screenshotting where you can see like what looks like a whole human. Granted, he's high above the earth and he would be falling the whole way. Maybe he hit water that cushioned him or something. When I first saw this, I'm like, oh geez, like, like I don't know. I was skeptical, right? And everybody's saying, he's dead, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, however, the book hints at the possibility that maybe he survived. Not likely, okay? But this book is supposed to be a history book written by someone who wasn't there. And he lists, the author lists usually like 2 or 3, sometimes 4 possible endings to these events. Some of them are clear cut, like who gets eaten by a dragon or not. Others, there's multiple endings or stories about what happened. This book is extremely abbreviated. We get, on page 422, we get 2 paragraphs that have to do with this dragon fight. There's a cool picture. Yeah. But that's it. Okay. Actually, I think the sentence starts previously. Vhagar was 5 times the size of her foe, the hardened survivor of 100 battles. If it was a fight, it could not have lasted long. Arrax fell, broken, to be swallowed by the storm-lashed waters of the bay. His head and neck washed up beneath the cliffs below Storm's End 3 days later. Mushroom, who is an unreliable narrator who comes up throughout this book and tends to be the most salacious of the stories, but we don't know because sometimes this world is very X-rated. But Mushroom says that Prince Lucerys' corpse washed up as well, and tells us that Prince Aemon did a bunch of bad things. But see, and then this is what drives me crazy about this book. It says, oh, he may have washed up, but then it says, but this seems excessive. So why did you even, sorry, I'm shaking the camera. Why did you even mention it? He like writes a whole paragraph and then he's like, that probably not, okay? Some say Vhagar snatched Lucerys off his dragon's back and swallowed him whole. It has even been claimed that the prince survived his fall, swam to safety, but lost all memory of who he was, spending the rest of his days as a simple-minded fisherman. The True Telling, which is one of the sources for this book, gives all these tales the respect they deserve, which is to say, none. So again, directly contradicting. Yeah, the whole, like, forgetting who he was and living anonymously for the rest of his days, that sounds really out there, okay? Very, very unlikely. But one of the reasons, I think, unless people are just looking at that screenshot, but one of the reasons I think people are coming up with this theory is because it literally says it as a theory in here. So we can't give him too much flack about it, because technically George R.R. Martin wrote it. He says it's not likely, but why did he take the time to write it if it's not likely? It just seems, gray. Everything in this universe of Song of Ice and Fire is a gray area, really. The true telling, I said that already. Lucerys Velaryon died with his dragon, Munkin insists. Munkin is one of the maesters who's contributing to this. This is undoubtedly correct. The prince was 13 years of age. I think they aged them up in the show. His body was never found. And with his death, the War of Ravens and Envoys and Marriage Pacts came to an end, and the War of Fire and Blood began in earnest. I'm going to add, because this is a little short, the reactions in the book to Lucerys' death. They call him Luke, but then they also call him Lucerys. It might have made more sense if they had called him Lucerys, but that's fine. Aemond Targaryen, who would henceforth be known as Aemond the Kinslayer, returned to King's Landing after he got the support of Storm's End. If he thought to receive a hero's welcome, he was disappointed. Queen Alicent went pale when she heard what he had done, crying, "Mother, have mercy on us all." Nor was Sir Otto pleased. "You only lost one eye," he said. "How could you be so blind?" Aegon welcomed Prince Aemond home with a great feast, hailed him as the true blood of the dragon, and announced that he had made a good beginning. None of that was in the show. And there was it was a cliffhanger basically between season 1 and season 2, and a lot of the book readers were like, how are they going to portray that Aemond's it could have been an accident? Like, is he going to do it? And they really weren't clear about it, to be completely honest. Like, they have a weird, creepy scene with him in the whorehouse, like, feeling sorry that he did it or saying he felt sorry for it. But everywhere else, he had that big smirk on his face, so it was kind of clear that he said he did it on purpose. There was no question about it in the book. He did it on purpose. But I'm going to check that just in case, because I don't know.
5 minutes later.
Yeah, I don't see anything in here about the possibility that it was an accident. There was a dragon battle in the book between the two, but they elaborated on it in the show. And I like that they made it like an uh-oh moment for Aemond. And it was brilliant to leave that question of, okay, how is he going to handle this when he gets home? And, it seemed clear that he kind of was happy about it instead of anything else. But yeah, it technically does say that there's a possibility that he lived, but then it immediately says after that, except he probably didn't, But it's in here. It's in here. So let me know what you think about that. This is a even more briefer book than Fire and Blood about the events of Westeros before the events of Game of Thrones, going back to Aegon's conquest, actually going back to before Aegon's conquest in this book, The World of Ice and Fire. But they do briefly mention the Jacaerys attack situation. So I just wanted to read it. It's like literally a paragraph, but this is what this one says. Dispatched by his mother to Storm's End to enlist Lord Borros' support, he arrived to find Aemond there before him. Aemond was older, stronger, and crueler than Lucerys, and he hated Lucerys with a passion, for Lucerys had been the one to cut out his eye. I don't know if that was the same in the show. This is why I'm making these videos, because I'm like, I forget what happened. Lord Borros denied Aemond his desire for revenge inside his hall, but stated he had no care whatever for what happened without. So Prince Aemond, upon Vhagar, chased down the fleeing Lucerys and his younger dragon, Arrax. The prince and his dragon, hampered by the storm raging outside the castle walls, both died within sight of Storm's End, plummeting into the sea. That's all it says. It says they both died, the dragon and Lucerys. Rhaenyra, all accounts say, collapsed at the news. The words Prince Daemon sent to Dragonstone after having learned of the news of Lucerys' death were an eye for an eye, a son for a son. So supporting that, but not much else. And nothing about a possible Lucerys is alive theory, but still, yeah, just good to know what this says too. I think, seeing Otto and Alicent react in the book way definitely supports the fact that Aemond did it on purpose, so like, they wanted that to be ambiguous, so I guess that's why they didn't include that in the show. But Otto was more pissed when Aegon sent the rat catchers to be killed for the blood and cheese situation than he seemed from Aemond. So it was a little weird. Overall, I'm loving the series so far. It's satisfying. It's, you know, a lot of the acting is incredible. The acting of Rhaenyra and Daemon arguing about what had happened and Daemon's involvement, that was some of the best acting I've ever seen. Like, I hate when there's argument scenes and stuff, but they were so good. Just with their faces and the way that they escalated it and the delivery of, like, some of the sentences weren't completely enraged and then others were, and it just overcame them, and it was so good. They deserve an award for that scene. I don't care what you think about the episode overall. That acting was incredible. And Matt Smith always has amazing acting, just with his face. Like, he just portrays exactly these little nuances and, like, what, oh my gosh, it's blowing me away, guys. But yeah, go a little easy on the Lucerys is alive theorists out there. I don't think he is. I don't think they're going to put that in the show, because the whole point of them warring with people is that it's because their kid died, you know? So let me know what you think. Subscribe to hear more of these. If I haven't said already, I'm probably going to make them a bonus video on Saturdays, because they're a little bit of a departure from what we usually do here, but we are art and animals, and even though dragons don't exist, so it doesn't count as an animal, I mean, books are an artistic medium, so they kind of fit. I don't know. This is kind of not my usual stuff. So, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.